Okay, good morning. So we're up to Shin Nun Ches Sif Yud Aleph. We'll try and finish off this siman today. Says the Mechaber, Shin Nun Ches Sif Yud Aleph. Karpaf Yeis in the base of Chaim. So you've got an enclosure which is bigger than two spaces, bigger than base of Chaim. Shehukav Ladira, that's good news. It's for residential use. For Nichnusu Bar Mayim. And now you've got a problem because water enters this Karpaf. The question is, does it now make it non-dira status? Because if it's mukav ladira, that means you can carry the whole thing. If it's not mukav ladira, if it's not built for residential purposes, so then if it's bigger than base of Chaim, you can only carry in daladamas. So there's a big question now: has it lost its status as a mokam dira? So nichnasu b'mayim, water comes in. So the question is this: im ru'im l'shtiya, if this water is drinkable, ein mevatlin hadira, that does not cancel the status as a mokam dira. Even if it's a massive area where it was drenched with water, even if it was very deep, the water, it doesn't lose its residential title. If, however, the water is not drinkable, then it's got the status as if it was sown with crop, and that does lose its status as dira, because you can have trees, but you can't have zroim. So that is when it's more than 10 tefachim deep. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah. We're talking about a case, Shamayim kovu v'kami b'techa karpaf. The water stayed there, didn't just sink into the ground, it sort of collected together. So if the water is drinkable, either for humans, or it's not drinking water, but it's good for laundry and things like that, that does not take away its status as a mokam dira. That's the point. Because as part of residential life, we need water, whether it's for drinking or whether it's for laundry, and therefore it does not lose its status just because it's got water in there as a mokam dira. However, even if the water is in a very large area, even if it's bigger than base of Chaim, the actual water part, we don't say there's such a large area of a collection of water. We don't, have in residential areas. A person does put aside a large collection of water for his personal use. Even if it's not more than Sosayim, but even if the whole chotzer is filled with water, that's still considered a mokam dira. Amazing, because that is what people do for residential use. If it's not drinking water, or if it's, according to the other opinion, it's not even fit for laundry, for example, the water was very dirty, then it has the status as if you planted seeds in that chotzer. It's literally like zroim. If it spreads into the majority of the chotzer, then it has the same status, the same story, as if you planted in the majority of the chotzer. And therefore, therefore that renders the entire chotzer as zroim and not a mokam dira. Only if it was only in a part in it, then then it's the same rules as before. If it's only in a part of this area, if it's more than base of Chaim where you planted, it all becomes asa. Like we said previously with Zorim. This is only when the water is not 10 tefachim deep, from the edge, where it doesn't sort of descend or into a very steep incline where it goes 4 amas across and 10 tefachim deep. Why? Because if it is 10 tefachim deep, or there's an incline where it goes 10 tefachim deep, with 4 amas wide, within 4 amas wide, then the walls of the water itself become mechitza, between the water and the rest of the chotzer. And then the water is sort of contained within its own little mechitzas, and it doesn't pater it, it doesn't aser it, because it's only the mocha of the water which is a problem. Okay. The Havelo katit v'refesh ba'alma she'en cholkin rishus hatzman. If it's only a fairly shallow water, less than 10 tefachim, then it's just like muddy ground, and that we don't reckon that. It's got to be deep water, which is what we're reckoning with over here. Okay, good. So just to summarize, you've got a karpaf which is mukaf ladira, and water comes in there. Does it cause the karpaf to lose its status as a mokam dira? So it depends if the water is drinking or at least good for laundry. If it is, then it's still called mokam dira. If it's for zriya, then you're in trouble. Okay, good. Yeah, okay, weiter. Yud base. Karpaf base shleisha soin. Now you've got a large karpaf which is 3 base soin, v'keira mimenu base saw, but one of those 3 base saw are roofed over. Muta afilu im hakeru mushupa. That is now muta. Why? We'll see in the Mishnah Berurah, because we say gudachis, we say, let's do the Mishnah Berurah. Muta, she pitikri yered v'soisim. Sorry, we say pitikri yered v'soisim. So the roof part over one base saw, we say that the roof comes down, pitikri yered v'soisim, vava ki'ilu mechitza mafsekes bein haso'a makura lebeis hasaim she'en makura. And it's as if, therefore, you've got a mechitza between the one saw which is roofed and the 2 saw which is not. And therefore, effectively, you've got an area of Beis Hasaim or less, and therefore you can carry in there. Even if the roof is slanted, it's on an angle, like our roofs, because we want to let the water drain off, where it's on an angle. So again, you've got an area which is 3 base saw, 1 base saw is roofed. We say that's okay, because we say pitikri yer v'soisem, the edge of the roof comes down, creates a mechitza, and therefore you've essentially got an area of 2 base saw, which is going to be okay. And even if the roof is angled. Now, ask the Mishnah Berurah a question. For after the Karpaf b'simin shin samachalef, we're going to say later Mishnah shin samachalef. Sif base sosam mechaber dehechet de pi hatikra b'shipua, where the roof is on an angle. Lo yomrin pitikri yer v'soisem. It's got to be flat. So how can we say over here pitikri yer v'soisem even when it's on an angle? Chilku achronim, the achronim make the following distinction. The shani hacha here is different. The minatera risha yochid gomahu. At the end of the day, this minatera is a risha yochid. You've got fences all the way around it. True, it's bigger than 2 base saw, but it's still minatera risha yochid, and therefore lekula al mashari mukav arba mechitzas. It's surrounded by 4 mechitzas. Elashach chachomim gozru bekarpaf yosim beisayim. They just made it gezerah for a karpaf which is bigger than beisayim. Ulahachi hekilu b'fi tikra af shepia b'shipur, and therefore they were makel, even though the tikra, the roof, was at an angle. and they say pitikri yer v'soisem mashein kein hasam, but the nifritz mechitza there in shin samachalef, the mechitza is breached open, and therefore you haven't got a mechitza properly deraisa, and lamin yer v'soisem elim kein pia shava, and therefore we only say pitikri yer v'soisem when the tikra, the roof, is flat and not at an angle. Good. Yud Gimel. Okay. Karpaf base asayim tzumtzum. Now, if you've got a base asayim, a karpaf, an enclosure, which is exactly 2 asayim, a base asayim, I mean, v'chotzer shenifritzu b'meluim zelazeh. Now, and you've got a breach open into a chotzer. If you look at picture number 47, you can see what he's referring to, and it's breached open into this chotzer. So your house is at the back there. It's backing onto the karpaf. Can everyone see it? Yeah, it's the picture number 47. And it's breached open into that chotzer. So again, karpaf beis hasaim matzumtzum, exactly to beis hasaim. For chotzer nifshinifritz b'menuim zelazeh, ha-karpaf is osa. Mipnei shemokam ha-mechitza miyasre v'nasa yosas hasaim, because the place where the mechitza is between the chotzer and the karpaf is going to make it an area bigger than beis hasaim, and therefore you've got that problem. Okay, good. Says the Mishnah Berurah Samach Gimel, Metzumtzum v'lo mukav l'dira, and it wasn't mukav l'dira, so you've got a problem. Anything which is more than beis hasaim, not mukav l'dira, you can only carry daladamas. Shenifritzu b'mlu zelazeh. Haloshin megumgum. The actual wording is a bit confused. The be'emes im shneim nifritzu b'mluim gamachotz also, because if it was properly open one to the other, then it would actually make the chotzer also to carry in. Shari hu pasuach u'paros lekarpaf shnesa, because it's open fully and exposed to a karpaf which is also to carry in, so that would render the chotzer also problematic. Elamairi shaya chotzer rochov mekarpaf, We're talking about a situation where the chotzer is wider than the karpaf. If you look at the photo, you can see that. The chotzer is wider than the karpaf. V'nishar gefufim etzodim, but you've got a bit of the karpaf wool sort of jutting into the chotzer. V'alken hachotzer muta. But that's why the chotzer is actually okay. To lo nifritz b'mlu lekarpaf, because it's not fully open into the karpaf. V'gam mayri, and we're also saying shepirtzas hachotzer lo hayosem yesa amas. The pirtza in the chotzer is not wider than 10 amas, because if that opening of the karpaf is more than 10 amas, even if there were some side walls entering in, it would still be asa. Because no longer a pesach, it's a pirza, and therefore that would certainly render the karpaf problematic. So if that wall between, or that area between the karpaf and the chotzer, that little area is going to take the exact base of measurements of the karpaf a little bit over base of and that causes a problem. It's just that area where there would have been a wall between the karpaf and the chotzer that pushes it over. It's not really part of the chotzer. It makes the karpaf more than base of and therefore, because it's not mukaf ledira, you cannot carry more than daladamas in the karpaf. But it doesn't mess up the chotzer, as we've discussed, because of the walls that sort of go out into the chotzer. Samach Vov, Vanasi Yosaso Saim, Umayri, Shekosta Karpaf Nichlosin Latei Chalal HaChotzer, the walls of the karpaf go into the chotzer's area, Mibifnim, Oisho Kosta Chotzer Shabatsad. I think have you got get there? Get, I think there's a typo there, I think, I'm not sure. Oisho Kosta Chotzer Shabatsad Zeh, or Batsad Zeh, Yeseirim Al Reichav HaKarpaf, Arba Amas, Vim Lav, Ein Zeh Nikriparts, Nifratz Bimilui. Okay, fine. Let's just finish off. Yud Dalet. Karpaf Yosem Beisosayim Shelo Yukuf Ledira. So you got a karpaf which is bigger than Beisosayim, which is not Mukuf Ledira. So you got a problem, right? You got a problem, and you cannot carry more than daladamas. Or Posach by Pesach, and you open up an opening. V'also mechitza lefonav, and you make a mechitza. Yoseh me'asara. V'hutza alidei mechitza zu. So what have you done? You've created a wall which is Mukuf Ledira, and now all of a sudden you've enabled your karpaf to carry in it, because it's now got the status of mukaf ledira because of this mechitza that you built. Sha'al yodeho botla mechitza rishena, because by building the second wall, you've negated the mechitza, the first one, shelo yisrael shel Hashem dira, which was not done Hashem dira. Now, so therefore you're good. Now, v'achakach nofla mechitza rechorina, but now the second wall falls down, the second wall which was done ledira, l'shem dira. You go back to the original problem. You only have a mechitza which is not a shem dira, and therefore you can no longer carry in this karpaf. So again, what have you done? You've got a karpaf. Let's say picture number 50, I think it is, or 49. The second picture, the bottom picture on the page, the second one of 49. So you've got a regular karpaf which is open to the chotzer. And it was not mukaf ledira, and the karpaf is more than base saim. It's the bottom picture there, and then you go and build a wall, and you build a wall of shem dira. So you've solved your problem. Life is good. However, the wall falls down. The chiddush is chayzel isurei. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotan Tzadi Zayin or Pasach by Pesach. Haloshim Gum K'tzas. Again, the language is a little bit confused. Or Makar Hadvarim K'mavu B'Yesa. The source is as we're going to explain. You have 3 walls, from your house. That's you see the guy's house is just abutting the karpaf, and he builds 3 walls. The v'kaisel beisay kaisel arvi or boyos Pesach, and is a Pesach. V'zeo shekosel machabel Pesach by Pesach. It's that 4th wall which is the Pesach. Eleshnei Pesach Pesach rak acha kofashel ksolim tolei mahani. But you only made the Pesach after you've already got 3 walls. K'mavu le'el, and that doesn't work to make it into a place of dira. Ulahachi also Pesach, and now you made a Pesach. Ulahachi also pekar from mechitza chadosh, and now you make a new wall on the ends of that karpaf. So now you've got its mukaf after you've made the pesicha, So that would work, and you've made it into a Karpaf, which is Ladira, or Kamavur Shamoid. You want an opening in that fourth wall so that you can, go between the Chotzer and the Karpaf. And you make this mechitza b'fnim. Okay, you make it can't be within 3 tefachim. Otherwise, it's just an extension of the pre-existing wall, and it's nothing. Okay, it's a big wall, more than 10 amas. Says the Mishnah you've gotten kuf. Either it fell or you pushed it down. To rely on the original mechitza. Says the Mishnah Berurah, we don't say kivin karpaf hutza pamachas einachos l'sorei. We don't say that you've remedied this karpaf because you built this fourth wall and therefore it retains that status forever. No, once that new wall is gone, we revert to the original situation, which is that it's not mukaf l'dira. Kosva apoiskim de'im echod mitzidei karpaf hu koisel shabayis for your pesach. If one of the walls of the house there was a Pesach, and then it was mukaf afterwards, even though the inner walls which is surrounding the karpaf still exist, because the inner walls were done not for the karpaf but for the house. And they weren't made for a kosa for the karpaf. They're not the same as the outer walls, which were made for both, for the bias and the karpaf. So you've got to have walls which were made for the karpaf to render it residential use, which will enable you to carry it. Okay, that is the end of Shin Nun Ches. Mitzvah Hashem, Shin Nun Tes tomorrow.